If you're a diehard fan of My Hero Academia, this title might seem like a no-brainer to you. However, if you're a part of the broader manga community, you might ask, how could a filler arc be underrated? Well, I find this so-called filler arc to be one of the most important arcs for the main character, Izuku Midoriya. My Hero Academia explores many methods and themes of heroism, all generally centering around our protagonist Deku. However, the School Festival arc, an arc that explores many of these themes, is commonly misunderstood. Due to it having little to no League of Villains presence, it has mostly been written off as filler, overall unimportant, or even skippable. Let's get one thing out of the way. No arc in My Hero Academia is skippable. Yes, even the provisional license exam arc. But to make matters worse, people who skipped the school festival skipped out on probably one of the most important arcs going forward for Deku's development and the series as a whole. The school festival is a quintessential MHA arc, and let's talk about why. Filler usually is just something that people don't like. It has an actual definition, but this is generally how people will be using this term. I think we should try to be precise in our criticisms, however, as misusing these terms leads to nonsensical criticisms such as linear shonen or it's just still frames moving fast. People often feel the need to objectively ground their reasoning for disliking something, which is something that I actually touched on in a previous video. Filler, in its actual definition in reference to manga, is used for anime that shows us a story that was not originally in the source material. Oftentimes, it's done because the anime's constant production outpaces the manga, which was frequent in the early days. Other times it can be done for, well, reasons we'll never know, but generally it's to pad time. So with this definition in mind, let's see, is the school festival in the manga? Yep, there it is. My Hero Academia actually doesn't have very much filler for a constantly in production shonen, having only 5 completely non-canon episodes out of 112, most of which are in pretty predictable spots and can be skipped over. Except for this one. Just don't talk about this one. Of course, it would be pretty easy to say, haha, they don't know what this word means, and then move on, but as you guys might have already known from this channel, it's worth diving into what people's criticisms actually are, even if they are using the incorrect terminology. If you simply dislike the school festival arc, then I can't stop you. It's totally fine to just not like something. However, if you believe that nothing comes out of this arc, meaning it's filler, that's where we run into trouble. The school festival is one of the most important arcs not only for Deku's development as a hero and a person, but also extrapolating on methods of heroism, people being pushed to villainy, and maybe saving the villain. Our understanding of what makes a hero in My Hero Academia was always the same, potentially surface level thing. We are shown that in every case, all it took was defeating the bad guy to save somebody. All Might racing around town, beating the shit out of villains before work, and Deku 1,000,000% smashing Muscular to save Kota. In the remedial course arc, we're given a bit of a sample of what is to come. The kids who fail to get their licenses are met with a task that on its face may seem boring and done to pad time for the season. Deal with some snot-nosed brats. However, let's look beyond the surface of this lesson. This was a situation that wasn't immediately solvable with violence, much to Bakugo's dismay. This was a lesson in reaching their hearts. Using their powers in creative ways, they get through to the kids and show them that power might not be everything. In the same arc, coupled with All Might's words, the visual of Shoto using his powers in this way stood out to Endeavor. After testing the waters of this method of heroism with the remedial course, we're introduced to a much more complex situation. Eri is a girl who suffered from an extremely traumatic situation and was saved by fairly conventional heroic means. Deku punched the villain harder, and she was saved, right? Well, not necessarily. The girl had basically not known a single ounce of joy throughout her entire life, and the events of the overhaul arc still weighed heavily on her. The school festival acts as a way to hammer in the lessons of the last arc, not only to the viewer, but also to Midoriya himself. But I'll get back to that later. We see Jiro struggle with the balance of wanting to be a hero and wanting to pursue her passion for music. She doesn't want the years she spent on her creative outlet to go to waste until, with the help of her parents, she realizes she doesn't have to waste them. She could use her musical skill to not only help Eri break through her negative feelings, but also help all of UA have a good time for once after constant traumatic events. Sometimes, fighting is not your only option. There could be other ways to save people. You might be wondering, how does this relate to our protagonist? This theme of heroism and something else that occurs during this arc are extremely important going forward to My Hero Academia. What makes a villain? Gentle and La Brava are 2 villains introduced during the school festival arc, and honestly, it's almost hard to call them villains. These 2 have become so beloved in the My Hero Academia fandom that people want them to desperately make a return. Gentle and La Brava are by no means evil. We are shown ordinary people and how they suffered from aspects of modern hero society. With Gentle's backstory, we're introduced to a kid who was heavily affected by the idea of fame that's inherently tied to being a hero, as well as the fetishization of simply holding the occupation of hero. You're told as you grow up that being a famous hero is the be-all end-all of this superhuman society. This is why, when Gentle sees his old high school friend again, the words, who are you again? Cut so deep. It was drilled into his head to aim for fame, and now in his 20s, he's been forgotten by even his schoolmates. It is this horrible feeling of being forgotten that pushes him to villainy. With La Brava's backstory, we see a similar but less extreme version of what we got with Toga in Season 5. Due to the societally frowned upon quirk she was born with and the desire that was coupled with said quirk, she was shunned by her peers and made a laughingstock in the middle school gossip circles. La Brava at her lowest was pushed to suicidal thoughts. We see a trend established of discrimination of undesirable powers that carries into the future of the series. The important part to keep in mind is, again, these two villains are not totally downright evil. Some people have the potential to be brought back, and maybe the title villain isn't very suitable for them. All throughout My Hero Academia, we see villains committing pretty despicable acts except these two. Stain kills heroes he does not see fit, Muscular kills for fun and is about to turn a child into mincemeat before Deku intervenes, Overhaul tortures a child and kills people to run his quirk-destroying business, Gentle and La Brava want to be YouTube famous. Some villains can have a happy ending, they're not all totally downright evil, and the school festival arc is the first one to introduce this concept. Deku's words after defeating Gentle might seem strange.
You were my toughest opponent.
But when he says toughest battle, he doesn't mean off of power alone. Gentle was his toughest opponent because he wasn't Muscular or Overhaul or Shigaraki. He was an average guy who failed the expectations that society placed on his shoulders. He was somebody who did the exact same thing as Deku but was punished for it and had his life ruined. This leads us to what we, the viewer, observe from Gentle and La Brava is not observed by us alone. This carries over into our main character, Midoriya Izuku. We aren't the only ones having these realizations about the average villain and the failings of Hero Society. Now, if you've read the manga or don't care about some spoilers, keep going. If you're an anime only and Villain Hunt hasn't been adapted yet, skip to this timestamp. In the War Arc or Season 6, we see this highly controversial double-page spread. You looked like you needed saving. What Deku saw in the Vestige Realm with Shigaraki was not a mass-murdering villain, but a boy who had one bad day and led him down the path he is on now. He doesn't know if Shigaraki is worthy of redemption, but what he does know is, what if he knew what made people turn out the way they had, like he had with Gentle and La Brava? We see him put his new ideology to the test against Muscular, when he says he wants to find out what makes villains tick. What events in their lives made them wind up the way they are now? Was there really no other path for you? He asks Muscular. Deku, however, isn't resigned to a fate of wanting to save everyone he comes across. He understands the harsh realities of this world and that some people can't be saved. Some fights are unavoidable. The insights we gain from Deku's encounter with Gentle and La Brava stays with us 2 seasons later and hundreds of chapters later. If you strip the school festival arc out of the story, Deku's new mindset going forward would make absolutely no sense, as all he has encountered are heartless monsters. Without this arc, we'd miss out on characterization for Jiro and Eri. We'd miss out on moments that build your investment in the cast. We would have never gotten to see a new perspective on villains that influences the story later on, and most importantly, our main character would not progress in any way. If you skipped to this section, just keep the experiences of Gentle and La Brava and Midoriya in mind as you watch Season 6 in the future. The school festival arc is by no means filler or skippable, and you will come to notice a newfound appreciation of such an important arc. I hope I was able to show you a new perspective of the school festival arc in My Hero Academia. If you like this video, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. You can also follow me on Twitter where I post exclusively good takes. I have never posted a single bad take, and you can also join my Discord down below where I frequently update you guys on updates from my videos, and we also talk about My Hero Academia and stuff like ReZero and Jujutsu Kaisen. So yeah, thank you.